And is the state ready to proceed on state of Georgia versus Christopher? Is it Whittemore or Whittemore? Mr. Lewis?
I think it's Whittemore, Judge.
Whittemore, thank you. Okay, and Mr. Whittemore, while Mr. Adams is getting ready, understand you haven't been present. I am going to inform you that currently we are live streaming on YouTube. I know your counsel is with you, so you can converse with him during the hearing. But of course, everything you may say or do can be heard on the YouTube channel. So I know your counsel will advise you accordingly. Okay, Mr. Adams.
Okay. Agent Valenti, we know that we can't see you for privacy and security reasons, but if you do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. And could you tell the court how you got involved with the investigation of the Christopher Whittemore case?
Yes, sir. DEA, HIDA Task Force Group 2, had been conducting an extensive investigation into the drug trafficking organization operating within Mexico and the Gwinnett County area. HIDA Task Force Group 2 has had an undercover agent in contact with an additional violator operating within Mexico, coordinating our deals. On May 13th of this year, the undercover agent and the additional offender agreed to meet at 5900 Sugarloaf Parkway in Lawrenceville, Georgia. That's unincorporated Gwinnett County, in the Bass Pro Shop parking lot, in reference to the UC purchasing 1 kilogram of methamphetamine for an agreed price of $6,500. On that date, at approximately 11:35, that offender requested a photograph of the UC vehicle and advised that his people were already in the area looking for our undercover agent. At approximately 12:30, myself and other agents, we observed a silver Acura pull into the parking lot at a high rate of speed and then park several parking stalls away from our undercover vehicle. We observed a Hispanic male exit the vehicle and approach our UC vehicle and began speaking with our undercover agent. During that conversation, that offender directed our undercover agent to move to a different location to conduct the transaction. Our undercover agent refused and left the location. At that time, having this individual make contact with our undercover agent, I directed troopers with the Georgia State Patrol to conduct a traffic stop on that vehicle. As troopers attempted to initiate a traffic stop on that vehicle, its occupants fled at a high rate of speed, traveling through the parking lot, leading troopers on a high-speed vehicle pursuit, in which there were several collisions. Once the vehicle was stopped, Mr. Whittemore was identified as the driver of that vehicle, as well as a second individual being the passenger. Once in custody, myself and another agent Mirandized Mr. Whittemore, and he agreed to speak with us. Mr. Whittemore stated he ran from GSP due to knowing what him and the co-defendant were there to do. Whittemore stated he was there, he had to try to make a run for it. I then asked Mr. Whittemore what he meant by saying that he knew what they were there to do. Mr. Whittemore said that they were there to make a play. Make a play is common street terminology for completing a drug transaction. Mr. Whittemore stated that we need to speak with the second individual because he was just the driver for the deal. However, knew that the other individual was on the phone with Mexico coordinating the deal. Agents then placed him under arrest for trafficking due to having knowledge of the drug transaction, of what he was there to do, why he was there, his whole purpose of driving. Mr. Whittemore was charged with trafficking, as well as he had an additional warrant out of a different county. I don't remember exactly what that warrant was for. Shortly thereafter, I received notification that Mr. Whittemore wanted to talk to myself and agents again regarding the incidents. Myself and other agents responded to the Gwinnett County Jail, where we again Mirandized Mr. Whittemore. He again stated he understood his rights and wished to speak with agents. During that interview, Mr. Whittemore stated he wanted nothing to do with the drug charges. However, stated he knew why he and his co-defendant were at the Bass Pro Shop. He stated that he drove his co-defendant because he didn't want the co-defendant to have his vehicle and be gone all day. And that's also why he parked his vehicle several stalls away from the UC vehicle due to not wanting to be seen during that transaction. Mr. Whittemore stated that when Georgia State Patrol attempted to conduct a traffic stop on the vehicle, his co-defendant racked a round into a firearm. And that's why he left, because he had to make take a chance at getting away. I informed Mr. Whittemore that having, knowledge of him going to drive to a drug transaction where a kilogram of methamphetamine was being sold, that he was also responsible for the act of trafficking that methamphetamine. Mr. Whittemore again asked us to speak with his co-defendant in attempts to get the trafficking charges dismissed.
Okay. And so the fleeing charge is based on he's trying to get away?
Yes, sir.
Drive away. Okay. And did this Bass Pro Shop, is it located in Gwinnett County?
It is, sir.
And did this attempted fleeing, was that also in Gwinnett County?
It was. The actual vehicle pursuit initiated at that Bass Pro Shop in the parking lot.
No other questions at this time, Judge?
Okay, Mr. Lewis?
Judge, is it Agent Valente?
Yes, sir. I'm a task force agent.
Fantastic, Agent Valente. I just want to know how to address you.
No problem, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let me start here. If I understand you correctly, a takedown signal was given at some point in time, and the initial responding vehicle was a marked GSP vehicle. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, all right, good. So I'm not going to have any more questions about the fleeing and attempting to elude. Well, let me ask one more question. How long was the chase before my client stopped the vehicle?
I can't give an exact distance, but it was several miles.
Several miles. And did the vehicle wreck, or did he just stop?
I believe the vehicle wrecked into a vehicle as it attempted to make a turn. Actually, it did collide with the vehicle. And then at the end of the pursuit, I don't know if they were a pit maneuver was executed or they crashed out again. I wasn't there at that moment.
Okay, 11:35. Is that AM or PM?
AM, sir.
11:35 AM, Bass Pro Shop for a kilo at 6,500. That was the deal. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I did understand that my client told you that they were there. He and the one Hispanic were there to make a play. Is that right?
That is correct.
And was that statement made on any sort of body cam video?
No, sir.
Okay. Were there other officers that heard that statement made?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did my client go into detail about the type of drugs or weight of drugs or anything like that in the play? Did he talk about that at all?
No, sir.
Okay. The Hispanic male, he was also arrested. Is that right?
That is correct.
Only my client and the Hispanic male were in the vehicle when the vehicle was finally captured. I'm going to use that word. Only my client and the Hispanic male. Is that right?
That's correct.
What's the Hispanic male's name?
I'm just going to object on relevancy grounds at this point. And I don't know if there may be some security issues too that I'm not sure of. But also, not knowing whether or not there's some security issues with respect to the co-defendants, I would say at least on relevancy grounds.
Well, obviously my client knows his name. I don't know his name, Judge. Well, he may know his name. He may just know his street name. I'm only asking the question because at some point in time, I'm going to see if, obviously the court knows that my client's told to talk to law enforcement, and my client believes that the co-defendant is going to clear him. So obviously I'm going to have to go talk. I'm going to have to get permission from his lawyer, and then I'm going to have to go talk to him at some point in time. And that's why I'm asking the question. What's the co-defendant's name? I figure he's here at the jail someplace, and just rather than just picking up random Hispanics. And of course, I may have a conflict if they want to appoint me later. So I just sort of want to know what the Hispanic's name is. I don't think I don't think it's a secret. I'm not asking for the
I'm trying to understand. You're just asking for the co-defendant's name, and you're asking that that's a privacy issue, Mr. Adams. That's true. That's not relevant.
I think it's not relevant to the issue of whether or not this defendant, Whittemore, committed the crimes alleged in the warrant. So what his co-defendant's name is, what his co-defendant did, is not relevant to this probable cause hearing. The only reason I mentioned security is because we understand that this is an investigation that involves multiple agencies, and I'm not sure to what extent people's names or nicknames or identities are known. And since this is being flexed out on YouTube, this hearing, I just would have an abundance of caution object. Yeah.
Okay.
Not relevant.
We're not asking for the victim. We're asking for a co-defendant's name, and this is somewhat in the area of party to a crime. So the court's going to overrule the objection.
Officer, can you tell us the co-defendant's name?
Alfonso Betancourt.
Alfonso Beckenworth?
Betancourt.
Betancourt, all right, good. Did you have an opportunity to speak to him?
I did.
All right. Did he indicate that my client didn't know anything about what was going on? Did he corroborate what my client told you? That's my question.
I didn't ask him about that, sir.
Okay. If I understood your testimony correctly, the undercover agent was supposed to be meeting with the co-defendant to do the deal. Is that right?
That is not correct.
Okay. The undercover agent was just supposed to be meeting with a person there at the Bass Pro Shop to do the deal?
I did not advise who they were supposed to meet.
Oh, okay. I guess so. So I guess here's maybe my real question. Was the undercover agent, when he went to the Bass Pro Shop, did he expect to meet with Christopher Whittemore?
As I stated in my testimony, sir, this deal was coordinated through individuals in Mexico. They advised us, our undercover agent, that their people were already in the area waiting and looking for the undercover agent.
Okay.
How drug traffickers operate, we don't have a name of an individual.
Okay. And that's fine. Did they say a black male would be meeting him?
As I stated, they said my people were in the area.
Okay, so let me understand. So when undercover agent goes to the Bass Pro Shop at 11:35 a.m., he doesn't know who's going to show up. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so it could be a 60-year-old white woman or a 16-year-old little Jewish boy. He doesn't know who he's going to meet at the Bass Pro Shop. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Okay, I want to make sure I understand that. All right, good. So at no point in time does my client get out the car to talk to the undercover agent. Is that fair to say, at the Bass Pro Shop?
That's correct.
Okay, good. So there's only two of them in the car, and the passenger, whose name you've already given us, he speaks to, and he's the only person speaking to the officer. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. At no point in time is he texting my client or talking to my client and giving my client any directions while he's speaking to the undercover agent. Is that right?
I'm not going to speculate, sir. I don't know what
Okay.
they're doing, what he's doing on the phone. I'm not going to speculate.
Okay. Were you present?
I was present at the scene. I was watching the events take place.
Okay, did you see the Hispanic that got out of the car texting on his phone at all?
I could not see that.
Okay.
Again, I'm not going to speculate yes or no. I could not see what he was doing exactly.
That's fine. It's certainly possible that the Hispanic was wearing a cap and he was touching the cap and they had a prior code going on. But as best you can tell, you didn't see the co-defendant communicating with my client in any way. You didn't see him yelling at him or shouting at him. Is that fair to say?
Again, sir, I'm not going to speculate. As you just said, they could have had some prior code. I will not speculate as to the communications.
Okay, I got that. I got that they have had that. From your vantage point in terms of what you can see, did you see the Hispanic male talking to my client? Did you see him pointing to my client, directing my client to do anything? Did you see that with your eyes? That's my question.
I did not see him speaking to your client.
Okay, good. After the Hispanic males tells the undercover we have to go to a different location, the undercover says, no, we're not going to do that. The Hispanic male then is getting back in the car to leave. Is that right?
He's getting back in the car. I don't know what he's doing, sir. They get back in the car, or he gets back in the car.
They get back in the car, and at that point in time, the car then immediately leaves. Is that right?
The vehicle starts driving in the parking lot. Whether that was to follow the UC or leave, I don't know. And again, sir, I'm not going to speculate on their actions because I'm not in the vehicle. I don't know what they're speaking of and what they're thinking of.
Oh, I got that. I'm trying to say, just from your vantage point in terms of what you can see, we don't have any video. The other person gets back in the vehicle then starts to move from your vantage point in the parking lot. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, the vehicle that the undercover is in, is that vehicle also moving, or is the only vehicle moving my client's vehicle?
The undercover vehicle is also moving.
Okay, now, as the undercover vehicle moves, from your vantage point, could you tell if my client is following the undercover or if the undercover is following him?
Your client's vehicle was behind the undercover vehicle.
Okay, good. So the undercover vehicle moves, and my client's vehicle moves, and then GSP ends up pulling behind my client. Is that right?
At some point.
At some point, and that's the question. How long, from your vantage point, how long was my client's vehicle following the undercover agent's vehicle before GSP came in?
Again, sir, you're trying to get me to say the vehicle was following the undercover vehicle. I'm not going to say that.
Sir,
the vehicle was moving in the parking lot. As soon as the co-defendant re-entered the vehicle, I myself gave GSP the go-ahead to conduct a traffic stop on the vehicle.
Okay. So that's all I'm looking for. From the time that the other person that spoke with the undercover got back in the vehicle, that vehicle that my client is driving starts moving, and you immediately contact GSP for them to stop the vehicle, right?
That is correct.
So GSP is on it, I'm going to say what, within 2 or 3 minutes?
Much shorter than that, sir.
Okay, good. So nobody's following anybody. So my client's not following anybody. He moves and GSP moves right behind him, and then he takes off, right?
That is not correct.
Okay, well, that's fine. Just explain it to me.
Sir, I don't know what you are asking when you are telling me what's doing it and then asking me to explain.
Sir,
if there's a question, I will answer your question.
Sir, listen. You're already in undercover capacity. We can't see your face. If you want to show the video, that's fine. If you're not showing the video, I just need you to describe to the judge what the hell happened out there. I don't know what happened.
And I will do that if you ask me a specific question and not
Okay, what happened? When the Hispanic gets back in the car, what happens? Who's driving where? That's the question. Nobody's trying to put any words in your mouth.
Okay. If you're going to lead me, I can't answer a leading question. Ask me a direct question.
That's not a leading question. What happens
Officer, oh, wait a minute. I'm going to interject because this is just becoming an argument. Officer, I want you to just listen to the question. We don't have to get argumentative here. If there's going to be an objection raised, we'll raise the objection. But you need to respond to the question that Mr. Lewis is putting before you. Mr. Lewis, if you will go ahead and just state your question, and we're not going to have argument anymore. Mr.
When
Lewis,
the,
proceed.
when the Hispanic gets back in the car, how long is it before GSP attempts to stop the car?
I would guesstimate within a minute and a half.
Okay, and in that minute and a half, how far does the car that my client's driving move?
It was still in the parking lot. I don't know exactly how you want me to explain that, but it's in the parking lot of the Bass Pro Shop still.
Okay, and in that minute and a half, is that car that my client is driving heading in the same direction or heading at the vehicle that the undercover is in?
Can you explain it? Ask me one more time so I can understand, so I can answer properly.
I'm trying to understand, after the Hispanic is back in the car, how each of these cars are moving.
Okay.
Is the undercover going one way and my client going another way? Are they going in the same direction? Who's in front? Who's behind when GSP engages my client? I just don't have an understanding.
I understand what you're saying now.
Okay.
So initially, your client's vehicle is directly behind the UC vehicle. Okay, directly behind it. Okay.
Okay.
At some point, the UC vehicle continues straight. I believe there was some kind of like carnival equipment there. I don't know exactly what it was, but the UC vehicle continued straight behind that, and your client's vehicle then made a right-hand turn in front of that carnival equipment, like a Ferris wheel or whatever it was. At that time, GSP was coming directly at your client's vehicle in attempts to turn around and get behind the vehicle.
All right, good. And then my client gunned it, and the chase was on. Is that right?
Once the lights and sirens of GSP lights were initiated for GSP, that's when the pursuit initiated. Yes, sir.
At the point of the crash, does my client have a chance to get out of the vehicle before GSP responds to the scene?
At what point, sir, are you asking? Are you asking from?
At the crash.
I wasn't there at the crash, sir.
Were you there?
I was not there at the.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Does GSP have on his dash cam?
I don't know if GSP has dash cams. I'm not a trooper, so I don't know exactly.
Okay. Okay. Where are the drugs found in the car?
They are in the passenger side floorboard.
Okay. Does any officer tell you that they see either of the occupants of the vehicle try to flee the vehicle?
No, sir.
Okay. Does any law enforcement indicate if they saw any sort of furtive movements, like anybody moving the drugs from one point to another point in the vehicle?
I did not ask that, and that was not conveyed to me.
Okay. All right. No further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Judge.
Thank you. And the officer is excused. Any further witnesses?
No, Judge.
Okay, and anything from the defense?
Judge, no evidence, only argument.
Okay, I will hear argument.
Judge, we'll submit on the fleeing. As for the drug offense, that sounds very thin. We have what could be construed as an abandonment. Okay, the officer, there's some communications with some folks in Mexico. They say, hey, my people are going to show up. No description of anybody. Okay, that's fine. Don't give my client's name. Don't give a description. A guy shows up. They're not telling them the black guy. A guy shows up, has a conversation about drugs, says we have to go to another point. Undercover says, no, we're not going to that point. Person goes back to their vehicle. And this is where the whole drama comes in. Oh, he's following. No, he's not following. He's following. No, he's not following. I don't care whether he's following or not following. I just need a straight answer. He's not following. At that point, in reality, we could argue that the whole thing is abandoned. Like we're done with any drug transaction, even though the trafficking may continue itself. The drugs are found on the passenger side, which is the co-defendant side, and my client indicates that he may know that they're there for play, but there's no information that he knows anything about the type of drugs or the weight of drugs. So the person may have said, listen, I need a ride over here to do a drug transaction. The person says, okay, I'll take you over here to do a drug transaction. But there's no real knowledge about anything that's going on other than I'm going to drop you over here and we'll see where it goes from there. There doesn't appear to be any other involvement other than that. and there doesn't appear to be any sort of communication between the Hispanic and my client at the point that the drug deal is going on, and there doesn't appear to be any attempt by my client to stash anything after the accident, to flee the scene or stash or do anything with the drugs to try to conceal them, even if you knew where the drugs were. So there's this sort of tangential party to a crime, maybe knowledge if we don't argue abandonment. But other than that, Judge, so I would say at the preliminary hearing stage, there's not enough, and everything except a felony. This is, I'm sure, a felony fleeing and attempting to elude. Everything but that ultimately should be dismissed, Judge.
Mr. Adams?
Your Honor, I think we clearly met the threshold for probable cause. The agent testified that the defendant told him, in his own words, I knew I'm there, we're there to make a play. And we're not talking about playing baseball or watching the Atlanta Hawks play the Philadelphia 76ers. It's a drug deal. It's a drug deal that's been planned between people in Mexico and in Gwinnett County. And they arrive here in Gwinnett County at a specific time, and lo and behold, the defendant is there, and he said he knew what he was doing. He wasn't driving just to be driving around doing sightseeing. He knew that there was a drug deal going on. That's part of their crime, clearly. I would ask the court to bind over all counts.
Just briefly, I think even if you accept the prosecutor's argument, it would get bound over as a conspiracy to commit as opposed to trafficking, because there's no information that he knew the drugs or the weight. Absolutely none. So the most that the court could bind it over as would be conspiracy. That would be my argument, Judge. Thank you.
My response to that, Judge, again, the defendant in his own words said he knew they were there to make a play. The extent of his full knowledge and involvement is up for speculation. But what is clear is that he's the driver of a vehicle with a kilo of drugs in it. And they're trying to make a deal, and then he tries to get away. That's prima facie on its face enough for trafficking, party to a crime, and I'd ask the court to bind over our charges. All of them.
Thank you. And I'll remind all, this is just a probable cause hearing, so the court is finding probable cause to bind over the offenses as charged, and it is a Superior Court only bond issue. So are there any other issues before the court on Christopher Whittemore?
No, Judge, we've already filed a bond motion in Superior Court. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lewis, I believe that is concluding your presence here today. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you, Judge.
Hey, good to see you.
Good seeing you. Bye-bye.